When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
All right, welcome back to the Elias Macco Show. Now let's take a look at how Quebec and the OQLF have send out agents and enforce language laws in the province. And we'll take a look at the continuing debate surrounding the use of Bonjour-Hi. Recent piece in the Montreal Gazette actually took a look at this, and undercover agents that have conducted over 10,000 visits across the province, noting whether customers are greeted in French or English, and if service in French is quote-unquote spontaneous or requested. Our pleasure to welcome back Benoit Dubreuil, the Commissioner of the French Language here in Quebec. Monsieur Dubreuil, welcome back to the program. Hello, Monsieur Dubreuil, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you. Wonderful. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
I know the first time you were on this program was when you were named to the post. Let's start off by talking about enforcement of Quebec's language laws. And how important do you view this type of enforcement? The undercover inspectors, how important do you view that in ensuring that there's, the language of service in this province is French?
Yeah, I think we have two different things here. The first one, when we talk about enforcement, it's really to make sure that the service is available. So if people go into a store or shop and are not able to receive the service in French, then they can fill a complaint, and then the OQLF will act. In this case, we are talking about a study that is trying to document the language in which people are greeted. So it's really it's not for enforcement, it's more for documenting the evolution of the linguistic situation. So it's more like a research endeavor than an enforcement endeavor. I think it's really important for people to understand that there's not someone hidden in the store that's really trying to come up with a fine or something. That's not what the OQLF is doing here.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's talk about that, because if you're studying this, right, and this isn't about enforcement per se, there has to be a reason why this type of study you feel is valuable, right? So why do you think, keeping track of if someone's greeted with a bonjour or a bonjour-hi or in English, why do you think that is important?
Mm-hmm. Just so first to say, I'm the French language commissioner, so I'm independent of the OQLF. So I can tell you why, from my perspective, it is a type of information that could be interesting. It's because Montreal today is a highly bilingual environment, right? So we have a lot of difference, like in which language people will choose in different contexts. And the fact that people will kind of nudge people into using French or using English or using both will have a difference into what will be the language of interactions. Like when you're highly bilingual, you're greeted in a language, you're more likely to use this language. So I think it's part of a kind of a number of research. It's that help us understand how norms, how expectations towards language are evolving in Quebec.
Do you think there could be issues with this type of research? Just by, and I'm going by, the anecdotal stuff that I see, right? And I think when I go to places, there are all of these little cues that people give each other that I think influence the language of service. And I'm telling you, like, I live in a quote unquote Anglo part of town, and the vast majority of times I get greeted in French and French alone. But there are things that could happen where I see, like, I notice the two people in front of me, if they're both English, and then it's just a gut reaction by the store employee to continue in English, right? And I wonder, and I worry about sometimes if you do studies like this, it doesn't capture, how sometimes it's human nature to go with different languages based on visual cues or verbal cues.
No, that's a very good point, and that's a good point also that mentioned the journalist in the article in the Gazette is that it's pretty hard to measure. Like you would need an experimental design just to make sure that you take out all the confounders, because like people depending on where you are in the city, how people look like, people have a lot of stereotypes about who is an anglophone, who is a francophone. Sometimes I also get into the store and I just stand there waiting for people to talk to me to see if they would perceive me as a francophone or as an anglophone. I just stop doing that. But yeah, no, that's why it's hard to measure, and that's why it is just like one study. I think we should not overemphasize the importance of this study and see how it fits within the broader picture.
So, what do you think is the importance of dropping the hi, right? I know it's been something that's been focused on. There's been even public service campaigns from the Quebec government on dropping the hi part of that. Give me the case here. Like when the hi is added, what is that an indication of that you feel is worrisome?
No, that's a very good question. I'll just take it the other way around. Like when personally as a francophone, for instance, I go to Ottawa, I assume that people don't speak French, and I just use English most of the time. If people say Bonjour-Hi, then I'm comfortable using French because I know that they invite me to do so. Yeah. Like I said, that's so I mean, there are contexts in which I think it makes sense to have those type of bilingual greetings. The situation we have in Montreal is a bit different in the sense that English is not a minority language like other. It is the number one global lingua franca, and we have this kind of broader discussion, broader issue where we have a lot of people who come to Quebec and don't have very clear expectations about learning French or about adopting it. So, and we know that French also is going down in a number of domains. So I just want to be cautious here because retail is not like the ground zero of the decline of French, okay? Mm-hmm. But like it's just like, I think the case for Bonjour is just to say in this context where we know that there are challenges for French, we know that a lot of people come here, don't necessarily always get the right signal about the importance of the language, but also you have people who are very much interested in learning French and practicing it. Let's say that collectively we agree on giving a nudge for French, just like promoting to like a little push for using it a little bit more in these public interactions that we have in everyday life. So I think that's the best argument we can make in favor of the bonjour instead of Bonjour-Hi.
What is the ground zero? You said, the Bonjour-Hi, that's not ground zero, right, for measuring how healthy or the vitality of French. What's the ground zero for you?
Yeah, we published a number of studies last fall where we really identify where French is going down by how much and why. So it's really the labor market, and it's really in the area of culture. So when we think of culture, it's pretty much everywhere, but it's focused on those areas where digital platforms play the largest role. So that's one of the big piece. And the other big piece is on the labor market. Like you have 5 or 6 sectors that are structured at the Canadian level or at the North American level where French is going down pretty steeply. And behind that, you have obviously economic changes, digital transformation, and also immigration is a big part of the story in Quebec, especially in the past, say, 10 years or so.
Just to wrap up here, Mr. Dubreuil, I assume you've seen that video that made the rounds this week of that person going to the Walmart, the Anglophone at a Walmart, just acting belligerently with that Walmart associate who was very kind and offering to get someone to serve them in English. I haven't heard anyone on the English side on this station. Yesterday we talked about it, and I'm telling you, the panelists that I had on my program, everybody, we were all outraged by that customer that tried to shame and that whole video. And I haven't heard anyone defend this guy, at least here at CJD. I'd love to know if you have a thought or a perspective on that interaction.
Yeah. English is a global language, very, very powerful. Canada is a country that is primarily Anglophone, and Montreal is a place where you can do most of your business in English. So although, I think most immigrants who come to Quebec grasp pretty rapidly that it is interesting for them to learn French and that it's also a matter of respect, I think we also have a certain portion of people who come here and just assume that they can just ignore it and expect people to speak to them in English all the time. And that's why I think we need to work all together, including all the Anglophones who love to live in in the city and love the presence of French to work together to send a strong positive message to people who come to say that's what is expected, right?
Just to wrap up here, do you find sometimes that the messaging from the provincial government isn't positive enough? Because that's the criticism here from Anglophones, is that we keep getting hit on the head. There's too much stick and there's not enough carrot. Do you think we could sort of change the narrative on that front?
We can change the narrative. I think what we also need to do is to get a better common understanding of what is going on, because I think a lot of the polarization around the Bonjour-Hi issues and other issues is that people have totally different understanding of the situation. So if you think, for instance, that there is no challenge for French at the moment, there's no way you can make sense of the controversy around Bonjour-Hi, right? So I think we also need to build common ground on what is going on, and that's what I tried to do also with you this morning.
I want to thank you so much for your time. It's really appreciated. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me.
Benoit Dubreuil is the Commissioner of the French Language.